This is going to be my second ARC video testing games. As promised, I'm going to be doing a lot of game testing. I have quite a lineup right now ready to go that I'm going to be doing bit by bit, but if you have anything specific that you're interested in, feel free to ask in the comments, and if I have access to the game, I will add it to my list. Okay, so here we are in the game. We're at 4K Ultra, just the Ultra presets. So certainly playable. The 1% lows and the 0.1% lows are not bad, but we're only at 30, we're only at about 40 FPS, 40 to 45. So it didn't make a huge difference setting it to high instead of ultra. Definitely like 5 or so more FPS. It's just a little bit more stable, I would say. Let's go medium. So now we're at 4K medium. Native, no scaling or anything like that. So this is probably a better spot to play because we're closer to 60, pretty static. It's this thing. It's not making a huge difference. Like now we're at 55. Again, the 1% lows and 0.1 are fine. Let's turn it down to medium here. And we'll go with 90%. Let's just see if we can get, there we go. So medium 4K just at 90% scaling, and we're above 60. So that may be the sweet spot if you have a 4K screen and you want to play at really high settings. It is dipping down to like 55, but those 1% lows will be not reflective. I haven't reset it, but we're around 60 FPS. This is probably, if you're on 4K and you want to be at 60, this is probably the way to go. Just set it to medium settings and then throw it to 90% scaling. When it was at 100% scaling, it was around 60, but it was dipping lower. Now we're at 60, 70, and it dips down to 55 in the worst spots. 1440p. Let's just try Ultra for 1080p. Some people have a 1080p monitor. So 1080p Ultra. And it looks like we're at about 80 now. Okay, so here's 1080p medium presets. VRM's up to 7.4. Ooh. Yeah, about 100. Sometimes it goes up to 120. This is 1080p low. Okay, let's probably do what I'm doing, playing with settings. So 1080p low, 120 FPS. But if we go down here to GPU, let's see where we were at. So it looks like our max ever was 94, 87, 95. So around 95 max. But we averaged around 80. And I was in the game almost the whole time. So that's actually gaming. So you can see there, it looks like it's sitting around 80 to 85 max. So we'll go with absolutely maxed everything other than motion blur because it makes me nauseous. If we're able to maintain anything even close to 60 FPS at 4K with pretty much max settings, I'm going to be very impressed. This game is very demanding. If you haven't played it, it will chew up laptop GPUs like they're nothing. Even my 3090 that I had would, I mean, it worked great, but it got beat up by this game pretty bad. It was basically full bore the whole time. It's horribly optimized for one thing, and there's just so much that goes on physics-wise on the screen. So yeah, I mean, we're getting 60 more or less, but you can certainly play. I play this game on my Steam Deck at 30, and it's fine. But you know, 60 is, if you know what this game is about, this is very impressive. 60 FPS max at 4K. Let's play with the settings a bit. You know, you could, if you're really worried about it, level of detail and draw distance are the most important. So you could turn these down just a touch, and you know, you don't need all this chromatic crap, but you can leave it on for now. Yeah, now we're, you know, at 60. And when we get back to the my little outpost here, you'll probably see it'll drop down once again. That's pretty normal when you get into areas where you have your settlement and you have lots of fire and stuff going on. It will dip down. But it looks like we're pretty good here. There's a couple settings turned down from max, but we're at 4K more or less. Yeah, now we're at almost 60 in here. Okay, so now we're at 1440p. Everything's maxed here. I'll say once again, this is very impressive. I have a 1440p, well, 1600p laptop with a 3070 in it, but it's a 150 watt 3070. And I'm not getting anything close to this. I'm getting like 60 FPS max. And that's in a Legion, so it's cool. This is very demanding. This is a very demanding title. And this is good frames. Yeah, I mean, 1440p max settings, 100 FPS is great. Okay, so this is 1080p with settings just maxed. Those 1% lows are the menu. You can see there it dropped down a ton when I went to the menu. I think the 1080p at 120 is really good. I'm not mad at that at all. And then you get out into the world where, you know, the fighting occurs and it's going to shoot up where you actually need it. You know, like out here, this is where, you know, the frames actually matter when you're in combat. And yeah, 160 1080p, that's really good across the board. So 4K high quality, and that should be good for now. And let's see where we're at. The 1% lows will probably be messed up by that menu. They might fix in a second or two. We can see if it goes up or not. Looks like we're getting about 140-ish, 130, 140 with 4K, I guess, max-ish settings. That 1% low seems to be going up, so there it goes. It's up to like 100. I don't know if that has something to do with that special effect or what that is there, but could just be the menu. Okay, so now we're back in the game here. We're at 4K still, but this is the lowest settings. I basically just turned everything down. From what I understand, this game, people like to play it at really high FPS, so I guess probably a lot of people would play it like this. So you're still getting the 4K native screen with a 4K screen, which is what I have, so it looks fine. But, you know, you're getting really high frame rates here. You're at 300 FPS. 1% low is about 300 as well, and even the 0.1% is, well, looks like it's 200. So we're getting really, really high frame rates here, and we'll see how that looks. Basically maxed settings at 1440p. So definitely an uplift in frames here. Even at max, you know, we're getting 150 to 200. It's sitting closer to 170 at most times. 1% low is basically kind of the same. There's 200 back here. The 0.1% low is still above 60, which is probably good, I'm assuming. Okay, so this is 1440p at minimum. We'll watch those 1% lows probably stabilize. There they go. The menu sometimes messes that up. So this doesn't look great to my eye because it's a 4K screen, but I mean, for someone who has a 1440p native screen, this would look fine. Like it looks good on my capture card, for example. Yeah, this is pretty good. 420 FPS. And the 1% low is pretty good too. What's this guy doing? What? See how it performs here. Good 1% lows. Seems pretty good at 1080p. Okay, so now we're at 1080p. We're basically at the lowest settings here. So this is going to be more or less the best FPS we're going to get, FPS results we're going to get. So if you care primarily about performance, this will be probably the way you want to go. Getting like almost 500 FPS. Looks, oh, they scored on us. Looks pretty good. So this is 4K at pretty much max settings. The FPS is 70, 75. It's weird because it says, you know, the 1% low is 24 and the 0.1 is 22, but visually I can't see it. Normally I can see frame drops and hitching, but I'm not seeing it. It's a slightly different area. Let's go back where we were. Yeah, so apparently we are getting some not fantastic 1% lows and 0.1% lows, and we're at 75, but visually I can't see it. But we're sitting at about 71 FPS, 4K, basically max settings. So this is 1440p, same area, same settings, those very high presets, so maxed out basically. And we've got quite a jump here. We're up to 100 FPS, 120, 130. Interesting results. Almost similar to high, which is weird. And this is very high. The 1% lows and the 0.1% lows are around 40, 41, 44. I can't see them though. I mean, that's, you know, we're getting close to 60 at that point. But the game looks great. 1440p basically maxed. So if you have a 120 hertz refresh rate monitor, you could just, you know, max the game 1440p and just play. Okay, so now we're at 1080p, same settings, basically maxed, and you can see the frames there. This is what I find interesting, that there's almost no difference between 1080p and 1440p. It actually seems to perform better at 1440p, and I don't know if that's a bug. I don't notice that in other games, but in this one, 1080p just doesn't run great. I mean, the Arc A770 card it's not what it is. It's a 1440p or even 4K card. I would call it a 4K card. So we can see here, this is pretty early game. You know, not a lot going on. This is 4K max settings. It seems to be running totally fine. I will turn down the settings and see what it's like when, there's not a lot going on. But I mean, this is great. 4K max, 65 frames per second. Totally acceptable 1% lows and 0.1% lows. This is great. Okay, so now we're at 1440p. So if you're a 1440p gamer, this is what it's going to be like in the beginning of the game when there's not too much going on. Well, obviously. Yeah, so 1440p here. I mean, we're getting 112 frames per second now. Again, it's a FPS game, so you don't necessarily, look at that. I don't really necessarily need to play this at super high frame rates, but yeah, this is running really well actually. Okay, so 1080p gamers, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, so 1080p max, now we're way up there. I don't know why these people are all mining gold. Wasn't paying attention. All right, so here we are on Path of Exile. I tested it with the DirectX 12 beta, which it was weird. It was running fine, but on the in-game and this Adrenaline, this Afterburner overlay, I was not getting above 100 FPS, which is weird. So it was doing something. So then I just went to Vulkan and it's fine. So, I mean, yeah, we're getting over 100 FPS, 130. 0.1% lows is 80, which is super playable. So there's no point messing around with this with 4K. I mean, just put it in 4K and just crank it and away you go. I mean, you could go more, I guess, but most people don't have 4K like 240 hertz screens. They have 4K 60 or even 120 hertz screens. So this is great. Okay, so here we are at 1440p. Everything's maxed. Seems to be running really well. So even if you have a very high refresh rate monitor, something that's 120, 145, 165 hertz refresh rate, I think you can just max it because we're getting around 145 to 165 FPS. And the 1% lows and 0.1% lows are really good too. So I don't think you really need to play around the settings with this. I mean, I don't think this is the type of game people would play at, like 300 FPS or whatever, especially with the 1% lows there. Yeah, so it looks really, really good. So now we're absolutely maxed. This is 4K Ultra preset, so everything's maxed out. I probably wouldn't play like this. You could, but it's pretty choppy. Again, it's an RTS, so you certainly could. But and when you zoom in, it's probably going to get pretty bad. Yeah, so let's jump out and we'll just drop the settings a bit. There's no point playing like that. I wouldn't play like that at least. So let's go with high. See if we can get at least above 30. So this is 4K at high setting, high presets. And this is playable now. So now we're at above 30 and the 1% lows are basically 30. Dip down when we go in here. You can see it gets pretty chaotic. I don't think people play like that. I think most people play zoomed out a bit. And when you're zoomed out, you're above 30. So if you're going to play at 4K, Ultra is a bit ambitious for this card. I'd say, turn it down to high. But let's try medium and just see, if you're on 4K, you could play at high and get around 30. This might be the safer bet, just play it on medium. Or, a medium-high mix where you can come in there and turn a few settings down just so you're getting a closer locked 30 what these guys do. And, you're going to get a locked above 30. Even the 1% lows here, in absolute chaos, we're still above 30. Okay, so 1440p, Ultra presets. Not sure where that 1% low, 0.1% low is coming from, but yeah, it looks like with 1440p you can just crank it if you're okay with 30 FPS, which in this game it's fine. So this is 1440p on high. So better frames than ultra for sure. Now we're at 60 or so, just below 60. Let's see where we zoom out. When we zoom out, you're way up. You can see there, well above 60 now. And the 1% lows are pretty good. Yeah, and even when you're zoomed in, I mean, it's playing fine. I don't think people play the game like this. They probably play a little zoomed out, but it runs great. So this is probably the sweet spot for 1440p high. The 1% lows are totally acceptable. Just go with the presets. So 1440p medium, it's playing really well. So this is extremely playable, 1440p medium. Well above 60, and the 0.1% lows are pretty good.